At my own wedding ceremony, I projected a video that was completely inappropriate. At first, my friends and family thought it was just a joke, just a couple playing around on screen. But as they looked closer, they realized the woman in the video was actually today's bride, Lou Ryan. The man with her, however, was definitely not me. While the crowd sat in shock, they noticed the bride herself hadn't even arrived yet. I stood there under the pitying gazes of every relative in the room. I picked up a microphone in one hand and dialed Lou Ryan's number with the other. She didn't pick up the first time. I didn't give up and called again until she finally answered. The sound of car horns blared clearly through the speakers for everyone to hear. The guests listened to the roar of an engine and started whispering. Was the eldest daughter of the Lou family really running away? I asked her calmly, "Where are you? Why did you leave?" Lou Ryan snapped back impatiently. "I have important business. Postpone the banquet." I asked, "What business could be more important than our wedding?" Her angry voice echoed through the hall. I said, "Postpone it. I'm driving. Stop talking." I finally let my anger flare. I shouted into the mic, "You think you can just say postpone it and that's it? What do you think this venue and these guests who traveled so far represent? What do you think of me and the Chin family? I spent 6 months preparing this engagement banquet, and you think a postponement fixes it? You're even risking your own reputation just to run off. Do you really think I'll still be the one waiting to be your bridegroom?" The moment those words left my mouth, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. Lou Ryan was stunned into silence on the other end of the line. The guests were shocked, their minds racing at my sudden outburst. They wondered if this was really the same quiet, submissive man they knew. Lou Ryan finally spoke. "What are you talking about? Are you trying to cancel the wedding? You wouldn't dare." I chuckled coldly and replied, "The one who wants to cancel isn't me, is it? I already told you. I have to go to the hospital," she snapped. "Someone is waiting for me to save their life." I let out a faint, mocking smile. "Are you a doctor now? Can you save lives just by showing up? Then tell me, who is in that hospital? Are they really on the verge of death? Could they not wait even a single moment? Did you really have to abandon our engagement banquet for them?" The crowd beneath the stage began to murmur in a frenzy. Even the Lou family was whispering, wondering who could possibly have such a hold over her. At such a crucial moment, who could possibly make the eldest daughter of the Lou family, a woman known for her icy composure, leave everything behind? Who could make her personally drive herself to the hospital right now? Then, Lou Ryan's cold voice came through the speaker. "It's my assistant, Yifan." The moment those two words were spoken, the crowd erupted. Wasn't Yifan just manager Lou's assistant? She hired him personally after graduation, and they say he's more handsome than a movie star. He's incredibly close to her, acting more like a best friend than an employee. But since when do wealthy socialites have male best friends like that? I watched the chaos and the whispering break out all around me. The Lou family matriarch, Lou Wakin, couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't sit still and immediately ordered her people to come up and stop me. They wanted to snatch the phone out of my hand, but they couldn't get close. Fortunately, I had already planned for this. I had hired 200 security guards to guard the stage in layers while I kept questioning her. What happened to him? A cold? A fever? Or did he get nicked by a bicycle? I've always doubted your relationship. Is she the CEO, or is he? How can a lowly assistant make the Lou heiress abandon her fiancé just to serve him? "Shinemo, stop being sarcastic," she snapped. "He's my assistant, and he's my friend. If you don't respect him, you're disrespecting me," she declared. Oh, so I guess I didn't know the consequences. The consequences of showing a lack of respect to this assistant? Family destruction and immediate death. Beautiful. That's exactly why I died a premature death in my past life. But now that I've been reborn, I won't give an inch to this pair of dogs. Exposing them and making them infamous forever is the first step of my plan. "It seems this friend of yours is more important than your own fiancé," I continued. "In that case, make a choice. Who do you choose, me or Yifan?" Lou Ryan never expected me to say those words. I was pushing her straight to the edge. In her mind, she and Yifan are like siblings. How could I make such sordid assumptions about their feelings? "Answer me. Who do you choose?" Even now, I was still being aggressive. Lou Ryan secretly compared us and realized Yifan understood her better. She blurted out his name, and after saying it, I hung up the phone immediately. I headed straight for the city of Badajoz. I needed to get to the hospital fast. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. After hearing her choice, no one had a single good thing to say about her. Her ice goddess persona was shattered into a million pieces. Old Lady Lou felt an unprecedented sense of shame. She hated Lou Ryan's lack of ambition and her pathetic behavior, but she hated my lack of consideration even more for making a scene in public. She immediately called over a family servant standing nearby. "Go find that disobedient daughter. If that Yifan is dead, fine. If not, make sure he actually gets run over this time." Meanwhile, Lou Ryan had already arrived at the hospital, still wearing her immaculate white wedding dress. She sprinted through the hospital corridors. Nobody had ever seen a bride in a hospital wearing her full wedding dress. Everyone was whispering, wondering what was going on. A few hopeless romantics in the crowd already imagined a tragic car accident involving the beauty's groom. They figured he was terminal and wouldn't last the night, so she came to say goodbye. Just thinking about the drama of it all, some girls couldn't wait to pull out their phones. They wanted to snap photos and post them online immediately. In my past life, this viral explosion meant I'd wear the cheated husband label forever. Back then, after Lu Ruyan ran away, the Lu family punished her severely, but she didn't care. They tried to get rid of Yi Fan for good. But Lu Ruyan protected him with everything she had. She threatened suicide, and I, being a fool, chose to forgive her. The internet mob portrayed me as a rich playboy who used his family power to steal another man's love. I was the villain who oppressed the Lu family. I was the one who tore Lu Ruyan and Yi Fan apart. Yi Fan lived his life with the stubborn grit of a main character in a revenge novel, fueled by his resentment. He still loves Lu Ruyan and protects her constantly. In the eyes of the world, I was the most evil villain imaginable. Lu Ruyan knew the truth about everything, but she never defended me. She only cared about one thing. She was obsessed with protecting Yi Fan's reputation, while I meant nothing to her. Right now, back at the city banquet hall, I was standing on stage holding a microphone, addressing the crowd with a calm smile. Since the eldest daughter of the Lu family has made her choice, I will do what is right. Lu Weiqin didn't know what I was about to say next, but she felt a wave of unease and was determined to stop me from speaking. She dragged her elderly body toward me. She reached the front of the stage and tried to persuade me to stop. She said, "Chinemo, if there's a problem, we should talk behind closed doors as a family. Ruyan is young and reckless. She just lost her composure for a moment. We will guide her and fix this. Now, come down from there. Give me the microphone." I looked down at Lu Weiqin, standing right in front of me. I had called this woman grandmother for many years. My expression turned cold. The Qin family had always been small, but we had dignity. Before I was even born, my grandparents passed away. They left this world one after the other. Then, while I was still in high school, my parents were killed in a sudden accident. The once proud Qin family was weakened. In the end, all that remained was me, the sole survivor of my bloodline. The Lu family claimed they provided me with care and warmth, but their kindness always masked a darker, hidden purpose. Old Lady Lu's real goal was to seize every last asset the Qin family owned. Now that I've been reborn, I will never let history repeat itself. "Old Lady Lu," I said, "your name is Lu, and mine is Chun. Where do you get off? Do you really have the nerve to think we are some kind of united group? Do you really think we're family? Since your granddaughter made her choice, your son-in-law isn't me, it's Yi Fan. I am speaking to her now as the head of the Qin family, watching her schemes crumble. Your attempt to play the emotional card has failed, Lu Weiqin." She looked up at me on the stage, her eyes filled with desperation. I turned back to the audience with a fake, apologetic expression and said, "I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend my engagement banquet, but it all turned out to be a complete farce. As I said before, I am a man who believes in doing the right thing. The eldest daughter of the Lu family already has someone she loves. How could I steal her love? As of today, I am breaking my engagement with Lu Ruyan." The moment I finished speaking, my former father-in-law, Lu Aini, found the courage to storm the stage. He shouted fiercely, "I don't agree. I strongly object. Chinemo, you have no right to make this decision." I looked at him and asked, "What reason do you have to disagree? Your daughter made her choice and ran off to find her true love. What do you want me to do? Should I send someone to kidnap her and lock her up?" The Qin family doesn't do things that are immoral or illegal. My upbringing simply wouldn't allow it. Every word I spoke was a calculated slap to the face of the Lu family. I was telling the world they had no class, and the daughter they raised had no shame. Aini's face turned bright red as he stammered, "Chinemo, Rian doesn't understand the consequences of this choice. If she knew the engagement would be cancelled, she would come back. Please, give her another chance." I looked at his desperate pleading and slowly shook my head with pure contempt. "Sir, how do you know I didn't give her a chance? She's the one who burned that bridge. Have you already forgotten the video we all saw before the ceremony started? Your daughter and Yi Fan have already committed their lewd acts together. What good is your opposition now? Your new son-in-law is in the hospital right now. I suggest you go worry about him instead. By the way, Grandma Lu, is your third generation still looking for a son-in-law? If so, what's the plan?" I should have said this sooner and stepped back in time to avoid such a massive misunderstanding. The guests in the room didn't expect me to be this calm. I stood there with my charisma at its peak, acting like a real man. Ani wasn't about to let such an excellent son-in-law escape. He still wanted to fight for it. He rushed to my side and whispered, "This is just how marriages work in wealthy families. You play your games, and I play mine. Ruyan has followed you for so many years. You can't just stop playing and back out now. She just had a momentary slip-up. Forgive her, all right. Marrying her is the same as inheriting half of the Lu Empire. For the sake of your past affection and this massive wealth, take back the cancellation. It's better to just forget all of this happened." I looked at him and thought, has this father-in-law's brain been eaten by a dog? Things have already gone this far, and he still expects me to swallow this disgust? He kept going. "Besides, Ruyan is still pure. Aside from some hugging and kissing, they haven't done anything else. You wore this green hat once, but I promise you'll never have to wear it again." I looked him in the eye and said, "My Qin family doesn't need anything from your Lu family." I turned back to the crowd and said, "Now, I will announce the second thing. Starting today, the Qin family and my mother's side of the family will no longer be strategic partners with the Lu family. Once current projects are finished, no new contracts will ever be signed with them." This time, it wasn't just Aini who stood there frozen. Grandma Lu was so terrified she couldn't even keep her balance. Overcome by a fit of rage, the old woman collapsed straight onto the floor. Quick, get her to the hospital now. The Liu family members scrambled to lift her up and rushed her out of the room. Aini saw the chaos, shook his head in defeat, and followed them out. I stayed behind to calm the guests until the late hours of the night. The noise finally died down, but beneath the silence, a storm was brewing. I walked back into the living room and found my friend, Shin Yuchu. We both sat there in silence, trying to clear our heads after the madness. Shin Yuchu was like a late autumn rose, subtle yet striking. She radiated an irresistible charm that was impossible to ignore. If Lu Ruyin was a cold snow lotus, then Shin Yuchu was a dark, mysterious rose. Shin Yuchu, I murmured. I felt the weight of the situation pressing down on me. She was a few years older than me, but she always knew exactly what to say. My sister, Chen Yaron, adopted her not too long ago. Do you really plan on giving all of this up? She asked. Lu Ruyin really did this to me. She actually went through with it. I can't stand it. How could she betray my sincere devotion like that? As Shin Yuchu spoke, tears began to stream down her face. This time, I couldn't pretend to be indifferent anymore, and I completely broke down. I collapsed into the chair, my strength leaving me. My eyes were hollow, filled with sadness, despair, and total helplessness. Even after being reborn, a part of me still couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe Rian would treat me this way. The humiliation of her running away from our engagement was just the tip of the iceberg. What I'm enduring today is nothing compared to the past. It's nothing compared to what Lu Ruyin did to me 10 years ago. To avenge Yi Fan, she straight up turned me into a vegetable. Did I comfort her? No, this matter definitely won't end here. Lu Ruyin is just the beginning. I want the entire Lu family to pay for the choice they made. I looked at her and asked, what do you think is most important to a woman? Without waiting for Shin Yuchu to answer, I continued speaking. Today, I'm going to make those camera photos public. Exposing Lu Ruyin's infidelity is a double-edged sword, but she can forget about me now. Her dream of marrying into a prestigious family in this life is officially over. The Lu family will never allow her to be with a nobody like Yi Fan. Without us even lifting a finger, the family will tear itself apart. The Lius will take care of those two themselves. We only need to focus on dealing with the Li family. I am going to lead the Lu family straight into ruin. Fueled by hatred, I gripped my teacup tight. I set it down and told her no. My eyes were cold, revealing a flicker of violence and ferocity. Shin Yuchu had never seen me like this. I felt like a completely different person. She looked at me and said, fine, I will always support you. The Chun family is your backbone, and together, we'll make them pay 10 times over. Yuchu leaned in and touched my forehead, just like she did when I was a child. I looked at her face, the face I had missed so much. In my previous life, after I became a vegetable, she came to care for me every single day. She would turn me over and massage my limbs gently. She would whisper in my ear, telling me everything that was happening in the world outside. And at the end of every visit, she would always stroke my head. I couldn't help myself. I stood up and pulled her into a tight embrace. I was no longer the man Shin Yuchu once knew. In my past life, I had been led astray. I remembered how Lu Ruyin treated her and the tragic end she met, and I felt a soul-crushing regret. I cursed myself for ever loving Lu Ruyin and letting her hurt my family, vowing that I would never let Yuchu down again. I rested my head on her shoulder, breathing in her familiar scent. The feeling of recovering what I had lost broke me, and I began to weep bitterly. She stiffened at the sudden hug, since it had been years since we were this close. Yuchu practically raised me. I followed her everywhere until I grew up and met Lu Ruyin. Because of that woman, I had pushed Shin Yuchu away and kept my distance. She heard me crying and probably thought I was still mourning my relationship with Lu Ruyin. She sighed softly, stroking the back of my neck to comfort her crybaby little brother just like the old days. As I let the melancholy pour out of my heart, I felt a surge of new life and vitality. Sister, get some rest, I said. We have a lot to handle at the company tomorrow. I finished speaking and headed for the door, but she stopped me. Where are you going so late? She asked. I'm going back to the wedding house, I replied. I need to get a few things back. They're my parents' heirlooms, and I refuse to leave them in Lu Ruyin's hands. Realizing I wasn't going back to beg for Lu Ruyin's forgiveness, she didn't say another word. She simply insisted that someone from the Chen family drive me there. After I left, Shin Yuchu stood alone in the quiet room. She let out a cold snort, thinking, Lu family, it's time we settled our accounts. Shin Yuchu was never just a pretty face. The fact that she could sustain the Chen family at only 22 years old proved that. Keeping the family firm and stable showed exactly what she was capable of. In my past life, I was the one who ruined her happiness. I had indulged my worst impulses and stripped her of her power within the family. How else could I have allowed the Lu family to seize our entire business? How else could I have let Lu Ruyin drive Shin Yuchu to such a tragic end? Tianai Pavilion was a luxury villa complex developed by the Lu family. My wedding house with Lu Ruyin was located there, and I walked straight inside. Looking at these rooms, both familiar and alien, a wave of sadness washed over me. Originally, I had planned for us to live in my father's old estate. I wanted to stay in the Chun family ancestral home after the wedding, but Lu Ruyin refused. She claimed she hated the outdated decoration style of the old house. Conveniently, this happened just as the Lu family finished their new development. She demanded I buy Villa Number 1, the flagship building, for $50 million. It was only because of my influence and investment that this real estate project succeeded. Before I stepped in, the entire development was failing miserably. The project was revived instantly, and my high society friends started buying in. They bought up houses here one after another. After all, who wouldn't want to be close to the Chin family? Later, I spent another $50 million on renovations. Every detail of the decor was tailored exactly to Lu Ruiyan's tastes. I spent half a year supervising the work across the city. I kept thinking, this is where we'll spend our lives, so it has to be perfect. But in the end, it was all for Yi Fan's benefit. After I was paralyzed and left in a vegetative state, Lu Ruiyan dumped me at the old family estate. Then, she handed this entire place over to Yi Fan. My wedding house, built with my own sweat and money, became their love nest. How many times did they sleep together? Right there in my own wedding bed? That was the final straw that made Shin Yuchu snap. She led a group of people to the house, battering down the door to leave Yi Fan paralyzed, an act that led to her own death. Thinking about this, my heart feels like it's being torn apart. A mouthful of blood wells up in my throat. Bright red blood spills onto the white living room carpet, looking hideously vivid. I even collapsed on the floor from the sheer weight of my grief. Meanwhile, at Shenzhen Central Hospital, Lu Ruiyan had no idea what was coming. She was about to become the center of a massive public scandal across the city. Right then, she was just sitting by Yi Fan's hospital bed. She held his hand tightly, looking up with a face full of worry, staring at Yi Fan's pale face as he lay there unconscious. She felt incredibly distressed, but luckily, Yi Fan was mostly fine. He only had a few scratches and no internal injuries, but the impact had knocked him out cold. Lu Ruiyan stayed by his side for over 2 hours without even blinking. She had no clue what was happening back at the old Chin family estate. She didn't realize she was already becoming a celebrity, all across Shenzhen. Except, this kind of fame wasn't exactly glamorous. Earlier, people had posted about her on LinkedIn, though they didn't know the full story yet. They saw her rushing into the hospital to find Yi Fan. The public opinion online was actually praising her for being so devoted. Internauts were gushing over her beauty and her eternal love as the post went viral with blessings. It's a shame that things were about to take a sharp turn. The people who actually attended the engagement party knew the truth, and they were already starting to change the narrative. Online, people were calling it nonsense, but they had no idea who she really was. Lu Ruiyan, the eldest daughter of the Lu family. And the man in that hospital bed was just her assistant, Yi Fan. Tonight was supposed to be her engagement to me, the heir of the Chin family, but she abandoned me at the altar. She literally ran to the hospital in her wedding dress just to be with him. Where was the groom in all of this? People were actually blessing this couple, and it made me want to vomit blood, so someone finally leaked the truth about Lu Ruiyan and Yi Fan. They posted everything, including photos from the engagement party scene. In the photos, I was standing all alone on that massive stage. My face was a mask of disappointment and utter despair. And on the giant screen behind me, the truth was being exposed for the first time. There was the photo of Lu Ruiyan in her pajamas, right there in the room with Yi Fan. The logic was flawless and the evidence was undeniable. It was rock solid. The fact that Lu Ruiyan was having an affair with Yi Fan was officially confirmed. Public opinion flipped in an instant, but Lu Ruiyan had no idea the internet was exploding. She had turned off her phone the moment she stepped into the hospital. People wouldn't stop calling her, and she was afraid they'd wake Yi Fan up. But the real reason she went dark was because she didn't know how to explain this mess to her family or mine. Keeping her phone off allowed her to stay in that hospital room, peaceful and quiet, at least in her own mind. She figured I was just having a hard time accepting things for the moment. She thought once she went back and explained it in person, she could appease me. She expected me to apologize for my outburst and propose to her all over again. She actually thought she was doing me a favor by forgiving my aggression and marrying me. She even planned to make Yi Fan the best man at our wedding and have 2 kids with the Lu surname. She was so used to me being her doormat for all those years. Did she really think she was still a noble princess and I was her loyal knight? But this time, she was delusional. Her knight was dead. She killed him with her own hands. While Lu Ruiyan was lost in her fantasies, the door suddenly slammed open. She jumped in shock, and even Yi Fan flinched in his sleep. She was terrified I had come to find her, her whole body tensing up. But the person who walked in was her father, Lu Sinai. He entered the room with several bodyguards, his expression grim. Lu Ruiyan relaxed and asked indifferently, "What are you doing here?" Her father didn't even get angry. He just said, "Your grandmother fainted from rage. She's in the room next door. Go see her immediately." Hearing that, Lu Ruiyan let go of Yi Fan's hand and stood up instantly. "How could grandma faint from rage? Why didn't you say so sooner? What is Chun Mo doing? He can't even handle a simple situation like this. He actually upset grandma." Her face was cold, her voice dripping with nothing but blame for me. She didn't even look at her father as she rushed out of the room to find her grandmother. In her mind, this was all my fault, not the fact that she abandoned her own wedding. She refused to see that her choices caused this entire disaster. She still had no idea that the moment she chose Yi Fan, I had already announced to the world that our engagement was dead. Her father didn't correct her. He just glanced at Yi Fan and sneered, "Stop pretending." Yi Fan lay there motionless, playing the part of the unconscious victim to perfection. Lu Sinai saw right through him and told the guards, "Stay here and watch him. Don't let him leave." After giving the order, her father walked out of the room. The moment the door closed, Yi Fan's eyelids twitched ever so slightly. He desperately wanted to open his eyes and check his surroundings. He peeked through a tiny slit. But when he saw the two massive shadows looming over him, he went back to playing dead. Meanwhile, Lu Rian arrived at the VIP suite next door, guarded by the family's security. She walked in and saw her elderly grandmother lying weak on the hospital bed. The sight terrified her, and she immediately burst into tears. She turned to her grandmother's personal maid, Aunt Wan, demanding to know what happened. What happened to Grandma? How could this happen? Aunt Wan hesitated to speak. She had served the Lu family for over 50 years, ever since she was a child. She had been by the old lady's side through everything. She watched Lu Rian grow up and never believed she was capable of such things. But now, the cold reality was staring her right in the face. Her young mistress had abandoned her own fiancé at their engagement party, all just to run to the hospital and check on a mere assistant. Aunt Wan sighed and whispered. The head of the family fainted from rage. She'll wake up soon. Before Lu Rian could press her for more details, the old woman lying on the bed, Lu Weiqing, slowly opened her eyes at the sound of the voices. Aunt Wan rushed to help her sit up, and Lu Rian moved to help as well. Grandma, are you okay? How are you feeling right now? And where is Chen Imo? You fainted. Didn't he even bother to follow you here? Lu Rian didn't mention a single word about her own escape from the wedding. She didn't even seem to realize that she was the reason her grandmother collapsed. Instead, she took it for granted that I was the one who failed to look after her. Her grandmother was in the hospital, and yet I wasn't by her side. But then, Lu Weiqing used every bit of her strength to shove Lu Rian away. She looked at her with pure contempt and spat out, "Get away from me. I don't have a granddaughter like you." Now Lu Rian realized. The truth was out, but she still didn't care at all. "Grandma, what are you saying? It's just an engagement party. We can hold it later. I'll clear things up with Chen Imo. I'll call him right now and make him apologize to you." As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Rian turned away. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She switched it on, intending to demand an explanation from me. But Lu Weiqing stopped her immediately, her face pale as death. The old lady knew Lu Rian had no idea what had happened outside, that I had already canceled the wedding. If she called me now with that arrogant tone, it would be a disaster. It would only backfire and enrage me further, leaving no room for negotiation. "Don't call him yet. Listen to what this old woman has to say first." Lu Rian didn't dare disobey her grandmother this time. She acted obedient for once and put her phone away. She tucked it back into her pocket. "Go ahead, Grandma." Lu Weiqing leaned back against the hospital bed and looked at Aunt Wan. She signaled for her to leave and closed the door behind her. Once Aunt Wan had stepped out, only Lu Weiqing and Lu Rian remained in the silent room. Lu Weiqing's expression shifted into pure fury. She stopped her with a stern, icy glare. "Do you even realize what you're doing? Do you think I'm just some useless old woman who can't control you anymore? You've brought nothing but shame to this family. Have you any idea how much face the Lu family has lost because of you?" Lu Rian stood there, frozen in fear. She was speechless, and tears of grievance began to well up in her eyes. It was like a dam had burst, and the floodgates were wide open. "Grandma, what did I do? Why are you scolding me like this? How have I disgraced the family? What's wrong? You still have the audacity to ask me that? Tell me, who is in the room next door? Who is he? What right does he have to be in a VIP suite on the top floor?" The more Lu Weiqing spoke, the more her blood boiled. She was already holding back for the sake of Lu Rian's dignity. If it were anyone else, she would have torn them apart by now, even if the wedding hadn't happened yet. The two of them were already engaged, yet the way Lu Rian was acting was completely immoral. In Lu Weiqing's day, a woman like her would have been dealt with severely. She would have been thrown into a pig cage and drowned in the river. Lu Rian was instantly stunned. She had never told her family about Yi Fan's existence. Aside from me, everyone else thought Yi Fan was just her assistant. She felt like she was being put on trial. She asked hurriedly, her voice trembling, "Grandma, how do you know Yi Fan is here? Did Chen Imo tell you? How could he be like this? I already explained everything to him. Yi Fan and I have no other relationship. He's just my assistant. But Chen Imo is being so petty." Lu Weiqing let out a sharp, angry laugh. "What kind of assistant makes you ditch your own engagement party halfway through? And what kind of assistant gets hospitalized and has his CEO rushing to his bedside? Is that really the relationship between a boss and an employee? Who would believe that? Do you take us all for fools?" Under Lu Weiqing's interrogation, Lu Rian was completely lost. She didn't know how to explain her bond with Yi Fan to her grandmother. She was certain it wasn't a romance, but something else entirely. She felt a familial affection for him, a bond without blood, but would Grandma ever believe that? At this moment, she realized there was only one way to solve this problem. Me. If I showed up to help her explain, Grandma would have to believe it. She immediately tried to call me again to get me to come over. Lu Weiqing didn't even try to stop her this time. She just watched her with indifference and said, "Don't bother guessing. Chen Imo isn't going to answer your call." Lu Rian didn't believe her, but when she dialed, I didn't pick up. In the past, this was impossible. Whenever she called me, I'd answer within 3 seconds. But today, Lu Rian called 3 times in a row, and there was nothing but silence. Granddaughter, Lu Weiqing said, "Let me tell you something." Lu Weiqing sighed deeply and decided to tell her the truth. She explained everything that happened after Lu Rian walked out. She detailed how I called her and even asked her to record a video of the whole mess. I had forced Lu Rian to make a choice right then and there. And finally, I announced the total cancellation of our engagement. The only thing Grandma left out were the photos of Lu Rian and Yi Fan together. The thought of them being intimate was something Lu Rian couldn't even process yet. She stood there, completely shell-shocked, hearing that I had ended it in public. Her face was a mask of pure disbelief as she whispered, "How is this possible? He loves me so much. How could he just cancel our engagement? No, I have to go find him right now. I need to ask him what this means. How does he dare do something like this?" She turned and was about to bolt out the door. "Come back. What's the point of going to see him now?" Lu Weiqing looked at her granddaughter with a heavy heart. She realized Lu Rian couldn't even distinguish right from wrong anymore. It wasn't just a failure of education. The problem was that I had simply stopped spoiling her. This time, be honest with me. What is your real relationship with that boy? How far have things actually gone between you two? Lu Rian froze at her grandmother's question, her eyes flickering with guilt. She paused for a moment and spoke with a trembling voice. "Grandma, what are you talking about? What kind of relationship could I possibly have with Yi Fan? You have to believe me. We're just colleagues, friends. Don't listen to Chun Mo's nonsense. When I said I chose Yi Fan on the phone, I just meant I was coming to the hospital. I didn't mean I was choosing him over Chun Mo. How could I ever give Chun Mo up?" Deep down, she was telling the truth. She never intended to let go of my family's wealth. She had only lashed out because she felt provoked by my aggressive attitude. She hadn't realized that I was simply tired of her games and had dug a hole for her to jump into. Lu Weiqing didn't believe a single word of her granddaughter's excuses. She was beyond disappointed that Lu Rian was still trying to argue and lie. Her chest tightened with rage as she looked at the girl. "I don't believe you, and more importantly, neither do the guests who were there. Those guests are powerful people. Many of them are our family's business partners. If your infidelity is confirmed, do you have any idea how much the Lu family will lose?" Lu Rian's face went pale as she processed the word. "Infidelity? Who? Who said I was unfaithful?" The old woman didn't bother explaining anymore. She pulled out her phone and pulled up the files. She showed Lu Rian the photos of her and Yi Fan together. Her eyes went wide with horror as she stammered, "Where did you get these? Who took these photos?" "It doesn't matter where I got them," Grandma snapped. "Regardless of what happened between you, Yi Fan is a dead man walking. If the Chun family doesn't finish him, the Lu family will. He is the biggest stain on your life." Lu Rian snapped out of her shock when she heard her grandmother's death threat. She rushed to stop her, crying out, "No, you can't touch him. I won't allow it. If you kill him, you'll have to kill me first." Lu Weiqing collapsed onto the bed, so consumed by rage she couldn't even speak. But Lu Rian didn't even notice her grandmother's state. She was obsessed with the photos. "I remember now. This was from our business trip last week. He only came to my room that night to discuss work matters. We were just talking about the company, and then he spilled coffee on me. I only changed my clothes because of the mess. You have to believe me. I am a product of your upbringing. How could I ever do something so low?" Hearing her desperate pleas, the old woman began to hesitate. The photos didn't show what happened inside the room, but the optics were devastating. A man and a woman, alone, late at night, with her changing into a nightgown. No matter how she spun it, the explanation felt thin and hollow. Seeing the doubts still lingering, Lu Rian doubled down on her lies. "We're in the hospital right now. You can call a gynecologist to come in this very second. I'll have them examine me, so you can see for yourself that I'm still a virgin." Hearing her granddaughter speak with such conviction, Lu Weiqing started to believe her, but she was still deeply confused. If they weren't lovers, why was Lu Rian protecting Yi Fan so fiercely? Lu Rian realized she couldn't hide the truth about Yi Fan any longer. She took a breath and finally confessed everything. Yi Fan started at the Lu company a year ago, and she liked his work enough to make him her personal assistant. But slowly, she began to feel that Yi Fan was special. Compared to the obsession of other suitors or my silent, attentive care, Yi Fan felt different. The Lu family had been women for 3 generations. She never had a younger brother. She had always craved that sibling bond, and Yi Fan filled that void perfectly. Over the past year, Lu Rian became more and more dependent on him. She even started giving in to his most unreasonable demands. After hearing the explanation, the old woman wanted to slap her across the face. A younger brother, she thought. There is no such thing as a brother like that. They weren't related by blood, yet they were intimate without boundaries. Who would believe that? Only a fool like I used to be, blinded by love, would have fallen for it, but I'm not a fool anymore. It's no wonder I handled this entire situation with such cold, calculated calm. I had piled up too much disappointment until it turned into pure despair. Every time I trusted her, she just pushed me further, which is why I ended the engagement in public. Grandmother Lu beat her chest and kicked the floor in a rage. She wailed, asking what sins her ancestors committed to deserve a granddaughter like Rian. As the scolding continued, Lu Rian felt deeply wronged, but then a sudden noise broke the tension. There was an urgent, heavy pounding on the door. My father-in-law, Aini, called out from the hallway, saying he had urgent news to report. Grandmother told him to enter, and he rushed toward her holding a tablet. He showed her the screen, explaining that the scandal was trending all over the internet. Public opinion had turned completely against the Liu family. He looked at her with wide eyes and asked, "What do we do now?" Grandmother Liu hated his nervous energy and his inability to make a single decision. She thought he was pathetic compared to me, a 20-year-old boy who stayed perfectly stable. She snapped at him, telling him to look at his own useless, panicked face. Aini bowed his head even lower, while Lu Ruyan watched him with pure contempt. She had always despised her father from the bottom of her heart. The only reason he was even in the family was because the Lius had no male heirs. Since he never gave the family a son, they treated him like garbage after his wife died. Aini was used to the abuse and didn't get angry. He just insisted she look at the tablet. When the two women saw the news, Rian shook with fury while the old woman fainted on the spot. The situation online was spiraling out of control as my reputation and hers moved in opposite directions. More and more people were starting to sympathize with me. Insiders began posting everything I had ever done for Lu Ruyan over the years. Someone even leaked the massive list of dowry gifts my family had showered upon the Lius. When the netizens saw the sheer scale of my generosity, they called her treatment of me absolutely subhuman. Lu Ruyan had no way left to defend herself. Even if she claimed she and Jafan were just like siblings, who would believe that lie? Did she really think people were that stupid? The public was denouncing her, and the fire was spreading to the entire Liu family business. The internet was turning into a battlefield against them. A massive online movement started, calling for a total boycott of all Liu family products. By tomorrow morning, investors would start panicking. They would dump their Liu family stocks as fast as they could. It was obvious what was coming. Tomorrow was going to be a living nightmare for the Liu family. If they didn't find a way to fix this immediately, the family wouldn't be able to recover for years to come. The wealth they drained from my family and their soaring stock prices would vanish in an instant. Lu Ruyan finally tasted the bitter fruit of her own actions, crying out, "Grandmother, what do we do? What should we do? You're asking me? How should I know?" Old Madam Lu couldn't hold back her fury anymore. She stepped forward and delivered a stinging slap across Lu Ruyan's face. Lu Ruyan clutched her cheek and sobbed. "Grandmother, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Does Chunimo really not want us anymore? Grandmother, I don't want to break the engagement. I love him. I didn't betray him. I didn't have an affair." Lu Ruyan was no longer the cold, untouchable goddess everyone admired. The pure snow lotus of the city had withered away. Now, she looked like nothing more than a pathetic, abandoned pet. "So, you finally realize you were wrong? Too little, too late. If you were going to play games, you should have at least been smart about it. Did you really have to be so flashy while keeping another man on the side? Now you've killed your own reputation and dragged the entire Liu family down with you." Looking at the comments, even Lu Weiqin couldn't swallow the lie about them being siblings. The old matriarch began to weep as the reality set in. She could already see the century-old Liu family legacy crumbling into dust. She hated Lu Ruyan, but she hated me even more for blowing this out of proportion. To her, canceling the wedding wasn't enough. I had to ignite a public firestorm too. If she knew I was the one pulling all the strings, she'd probably cough up blood from rage. Ani stood up and looked at the old woman, asking, "Mom, how do we handle this now?" Ani paused for a moment before speaking. "Mom, we need to take two specific steps right now. First, we handle the public opinion online by contacting our people to bury the news immediately. Then, we go to Chun Mo and force him to hold a press conference. He needs to step up and take the blame for everything." Lu Ruyan and Lu Weiqin exchanged a look of pure desperation. Knowing what to do was one thing, but actually pulling it off was the real challenge. Especially the part about making me take the fall. Lu Ruyan couldn't even find a reason for me to be at fault. As Aini laid out the plan, the women of the Lu family sat there in stunned silence. They never expected a man they considered a useless weakling to come up with such a scheme. The worthless son-in-law was suddenly their only hope. Yu Weiqing had just been mocking Aini for being unstable, but that insult blew up in her face instantly. The first step was easy. The Lu family owned an entertainment company and could just manufacture a celebrity scandal. A top-tier star's secret affair would distract the netizens from Lu Ruyan's gossip in a heartbeat. The second issue was Yi Fan's identity. They decided to claim the family had adopted him, making him Lu Ruyan's official foster brother. But the final, most crucial piece was me. I had to tell the world I acted out of petty jealousy. I had to admit I misunderstood their pure relationship and caused this mess because I loved her too much. The first two steps were simple enough to execute. The real problem was the growing fear that I might not cooperate at all. Lu Weiqin thought for a moment and immediately began barking out orders. "Aini, I'm appointing you right now. You are now vice president of the Lu Group, and this matter is your responsibility. Ruyan and I will handle Chinimo. You go manage the public narrative tonight." Aini had been waiting for this, and she happily grabbed her tablet and left. As soon as she was gone, Lu Weiqin's expression turned deadly serious. "Ruyan, tell me the truth. Have you slept with Yi Fan or not?" Lu Weiqin still didn't believe their bond was just a simple sibling relationship. Ruyan couldn't believe even the grandmother who loved her most didn't trust her. Grandmother, please, I swear on my mother's grave that nothing happened. I only see him as a younger brother, nothing more. At the mention of Rian's mother, Lu Weiqin's eyes flickered with a hint of guilt. Fine, but just in case, we need proof to satisfy my doubts. You need to go get a physical checkup immediately. We need that medical report to explain everything to Chinamo. Rian was confused, wondering what kind of proof her grandmother meant. Then Lu Weiqin shifted her gaze downward, staring pointedly at Rian's lap. The realization hit her like a truck. Her grandmother wanted a virginity exam. 1 hour later, Rian walked out of the clinic, her face flushed with deep humiliation. She clutched the medical report and headed straight for the old Chin family estate. She called me countless times while she was on her way. I didn't answer. Lu Rian had no idea if I was angry or just asleep. But the truth was much darker. Just as she reached the Chun estate, I finally woke up from my collapse. Vomiting that mouthful of heart blood felt like a final, agonizing goodbye to my past. Lu Rian, I have finally ripped you out of my heart. After purging that blood, I felt as though my veins were filled with nothing but cold water. My entire being felt lighter, as if my love for her had bled out right along with it. The shadow that had been suffocating my soul was finally gone. I stared at the screen of my phone. I looked around our new wedding home and whispered, "It's time to say goodbye." I grabbed a bottle of red wine from the liquor shelf. I didn't bother with a glass, drinking straight from the bottle and taking a massive gulp. Suddenly, I smashed the bottle against our wedding photo, watching the glass shatter. The portrait was ruined, soaked in red, and I simply opened another bottle. After a few more drinks, I walked toward the bedroom. I pulled down Lu Rian's custom wedding dress. I didn't pour wine on it. Instead, I pulled out a lighter and flicked the flame. This dress took half a year to make and was encrusted with precious jewels. I watched it catch fire, thinking of how hard I worked to give her the perfect wedding. I had even traveled to Europe personally to pick up that wedding dress. It was custom made by a master tailor, but now, this dress is no longer necessary. I grabbed the framed photos of us as well. I threw them both into the growing fire to watch them burn. The dazzling light soon attracted the Chun family bodyguards at the door. They didn't dare barge in, so they shouted from the entrance. "Young master, are you alright? Do you need us to come in?" "Pack all my things," I ordered, "and then tear this place apart." I hated this bridal suite. In my past life, this was where Lu Rian destroyed me. This was where she turned me into a vegetable while she and Yi Fan used it as their playground. I didn't give the room another look. I just kept walking, drinking straight from the bottle. I walked away from it all. I was drunk and had nowhere to go. I owned properties everywhere, but none felt like home. The Sweet Nook was nothing more than the site of Lu Rian's betrayal. And the Chun family mansion was where they took Shin Yuchu away from me. Just being there would torment me until the pain became unbearable. I walked the streets alone, like a ghost, solitary and dejected. I felt like a stray dog with no home, wandering the pavement until the early hours of the morning. Then, I pulled out my phone and changed my settings. I stumbled along, my vision blurry and my steps heavy. A 5-star hotel stood by the roadside, and with my head spinning, I headed straight for it. I didn't care about the cost. I booked the presidential suite immediately. I grabbed the key card and headed for my temporary sanctuary. I stepped into the elevator alone, heading for the 66th floor, the very top. But the elevator jerked to a halt on the 50th floor. A woman dressed in disheveled clothes appeared at the doors. She was carrying a massive backpack and practically lunged into the elevator. The moment she was inside, she slammed her hand against the panel. She was desperate to close the elevator doors as fast as possible. It was as if something terrifying was hunting her down. I narrowed my eyes, trying to focus my drunken gaze on her. She looked young, maybe a recent college graduate. She was tall, wearing a tight, milky white dress that traced every curve of her perfect figure. She was a rare beauty, the kind that could actually rival Lu Rian. I gave her a quick, passing glance. I felt like hell and needed to lie down immediately. My body was screaming for rest. But this woman seemed even more wasted than I was, swaying violently on her feet. Her pale, jade-like arms reached out, but she couldn't even find the handrail. She leaned toward me, and I instinctively reached out to catch her. The moment our skin touched, it felt like I was holding a piece of fine, polished white jade. Her skin was delicate, soft, and glowing. My heart skipped a beat as she clung to me like a lifeline. She leaned into my embrace and whispered, "Save me, please, save me." I realized something was wrong. Her body temperature was unnaturally high. An abnormal flush began to spread across her snow-white skin. Before I could even react, she lifted her head and kissed me, pulling my neck down with all her strength. The elevator doors hissed open, and I rushed out with her in my arms. I carried her straight into my suite. The moment we were inside, she became even more desperate. She started frantically tearing at her clothes and mine. "Don't talk," she breathed. "Just stay with me." She silenced me with another kiss, and with the alcohol in my system, I couldn't resist. I closed my eyes and let myself go. While I was occupied at the hotel, Lu Rian was getting the door slammed in her face at the old Chin residence. After she begged and pleaded, the housekeeper finally gave her the cold truth. She told her that I had already returned to our old wedding house. The moment Lu Rian heard that, she rushed straight there. She was convinced that I still had feelings for her. In her mind, I was waiting for her at the house where we were supposed to start our life. Lu Rian felt a surge of joy, finally letting her guard down. But when she finally arrived at the wedding house, I was nowhere to be found. Instead, she found a group of my bodyguards inside. They were swinging with everything they had. They were using baseball bats to smash every piece of furniture to splinters. Every single decoration was being reduced to rubble. Lu Ruyan nearly fainted from pure rage and screamed for them to stop. "What are you doing? Who told you to destroy everything? Get out of here right now." The bodyguards obviously knew exactly who Lu Ruyan was. She was the woman who had almost become the mistress of this estate. One of them spoke up. "The young master ordered us to tear it all down." They stood there, paralyzed, not knowing who they should actually obey. What if I actually ended up taking Lu Ruyan back? Would they be the ones punished for following my orders? It was an impossible choice. "Don't make me repeat myself. Get out of here right now." The bodyguards scrambled and shifted uncomfortably. They had no choice but to drop their bats and leave. As they walked away, Lu Ruyan collapsed onto the floor, finally realizing I was serious. I wasn't just throwing a tantrum, I was actually done with her. "Chinemo, why won't you even give me a chance to explain?" She sobbed on the carpet. Then, she noticed a dark stain on the rug where the blood had dried. The bright red splatter on the snow-white wool was impossible to miss. I had coughed up blood right there, and she finally realized what she'd done to me. Lu Ruyan sat there lost, wailing in pain as the weight of her actions hit her. She looked like a fallen leaf swept away by a cold autumn wind, beautiful but helpless. Meanwhile, back in the luxury presidential suite with that mysterious woman, were we still locked in that passionate struggle? An hour later, the fire finally started to cool. The effects of the drug wore off. She collapsed onto the bed, and I was finally free. As the morning sun filtered in, she was the first one to wake up. She looked like a white lotus in full bloom, pure, bright, and radiant. She looked noble, with a faint, transparent flush still on her skin. It was the blush of a shy young woman, yet there was something aggressive about her beauty. She had a hint of playfulness about her, a certain coquettish charm. It was the look of a girl who had finally become a woman. Lu Mingyao stared at the scene in front of her, completely stunned for a long moment. Reality finally started to sink in. She was in a strange bed, and there was an unknown man lying right there with her. Her first instinct was to scream. She had just signed a contract with Hongyu. She was supposed to make her big television debut. Yesterday, she accepted an invitation from her colleague, Zhang Jie, to perform in Hachin. After the show, Zhang Jie took her out to meet some potential investors. Before they arrived, Zhang Jie hinted at what was expected. He told her she needed to loosen up and make some sacrifices tonight. She didn't realize loosening up meant selling her body to please sponsors. Of course, she refused. She tried to leave, but Zhang Jie wouldn't let her go. Finally, Zhang Jie acted like he was backing down. He told her she just had to share one last toast before leaving. She thought nothing would happen if she just finished that one drink. I didn't expect it, but that was the beginning of my nightmare. There was something wrong with that drink. My vision blurred, and everything became a haze. I felt my consciousness slipping away. The world started spinning out of control. I couldn't fight the weight in my limbs. Everything went dark. While I was in the shower, she finally had a moment to breathe. She had the chance to run out into the city, to escape that room and never look back. But unexpectedly, she ended up staying right there. Lu Mingyao stared at me while I slept soundly in the bed. Memories of the previous night slowly resurfaced in her mind. Lu Mingyao finally remembered everything. She realized she was the one who pinned me down, feeling lost and ashamed of that absurd night. She took another look and realized the man who took her body was actually quite handsome. Lu Mingyao focused her gaze on my face and whispered for me not to worry. She murmured softly, "Luckily it was you. Forget it. You got lucky this time. If it had been that old man, I definitely would have killed myself." Lu Mingyao stepped off the bed barefoot, her skin glowing. White as snow, she looked like a goddess straight out of Greek mythology. She walked with light steps and carefully gathered her things. She picked up her shredded clothes from the floor and tried to put them on, but the rags couldn't cover her delicate body, leaving her feeling helpless. She had no choice but to throw on my coat. She whispered to herself, "I slept with him, and now I'm taking his clothes. Isn't that a bit wrong?" She hesitated for a moment, thinking it over. Then, she unclasped the necklace from her neck. She placed it gently on the bedside table. Beside it, she left a single handwritten note. She let out a bitter smile and muttered, "Does this count as paying for it? Thank you. Thank you for everything." She shot me a resentful look while I stayed there, sleeping like a log. It was as if she wanted to carve my face into her memory. She wanted to bury the image of me deep in her heart. After a long silence, she opened the door and left without looking back. I kept sleeping until the sun was high in the sky. When I finally woke up, her shadow was long gone. Lu Mingyao was nowhere to be found. She was really gone. I looked over at the bedside table. I saw the necklace sitting there next to a handwritten note. I traced the paper with my fingertip. A passing fling, returned to its owner. I took the coat. "The necklace is your compensation." I picked up the necklace and brought it to my nose. I took a soft breath, feeling her presence still lingering in the air. It was that unique fragrance that belonged only to her. Then, I pulled back the heavy blankets. There were bright red stains on the sheets from last night. A cold smirk played on my lips. "You sleep with me and then try to run? Not a chance." I grabbed my phone and dialed my bodyguard's number. "Lu Ao, find out everything about the woman in my room last night. I want her file in an hour, and bring me fresh clothes." I hung up before he could even answer. I headed straight to the bathroom to wash off the night. On the other end, Lu Ao was paralyzed with fear. What? Someone broke into the young master's room? Check the security cameras now. He didn't waste a second. By the time I finished showering, my bodyguard was already waiting at the door. Lu Ao handed me a file with a trembling hand. Young master, we have the results, he said. We investigated. The woman who entered your room last night is named Lu Mingyao. She is currently a university student at the famous University of Madrid. She studies at the Academy of Opera and Fashion. Yesterday, she was invited by Han Chun. It was for a performance, but afterward, she attended a banquet where she was drugged. Where is she now? I asked. She took a high-speed train early this morning. She should be back in the city by now. I narrowed my eyes. Who invited her? We looked into it. Her name is Tanji, another graduate from the opera school. She's Lu Mingyao's senior. So, was she the one who drugged her? Lu Ao nodded firmly. It's highly likely. Even if she didn't do it herself, she was definitely the accomplice responsible for setting the whole thing up. I snorted coldly, a murderous look in my eyes. Setting it up? To put it plainly, she's a pimp. Whose bed was she trying to put Lu Mingyao in? Lu Ao cleared his throat awkwardly. Actually, sir, you know this person. You two are quite close. I paused, halfway through putting on my coat. I froze the moment I heard Lu Ao say I knew the culprit. I looked at him, completely blindsided. What? I know her. Tell me who it is. How could I possibly know such scum? Lu Ao looked away awkwardly, stuttering over his words. It's the third master, he said. The third master? Who the hell is that? I repeated the title, Third Master, to myself, but for a moment, I couldn't place him. I searched my memory, trying to figure out who he was talking about. Suddenly, a name clicked. Is it Simbo? Aini's brother. Lu Ao nodded and confirmed. Yes, sir. It's him. Just hearing that name made my blood boil. The man was the definition of greed. He was a lecherous pig who constantly abused his power. He did it all using the Chin family name. He started as a simple guard for us. Then he moved to security at a firm under the Lu family. Eventually, Aini came crawling to me to find him a real job. I wanted to please Aini, my future father-in-law, so I did him the favor. I put Simbo directly into the corporate headquarters as the head of logistics. The moment Simbo got a taste of real authority, he became unstoppable. He treated the company like his personal playground. He brought in his entire extended family, young and old, to fill the office halls. They took bribes, pocketed illegal commissions, and bled the company dry for their own gain. I never expected that a lowly security guard like Simbo would turn into such a massive parasite. Before, Shinjuku had already reported him to me, but I didn't want to embarrass Aini by making a scene. I also wanted to save face for Lu Ruyan, so I kept telling Shinjuku to just endure it for a while longer. I never imagined Simbo would actually set his sights on her. He started harassing her without a shred of shame. Of course, he only dared to make lewd, disgusting comments for now. In my past life, I let him get away with it. In this life, I'm going to make an example out of him. I turned to Lu Ao and said, take me to the company. The Denubo building is the most famous skyscraper in Hanshin, owned entirely by the Yin family. I had the bodyguards wait back as I stepped out and walked toward the entrance alone. But I didn't even make it through the lobby before I was stopped. A security guard blocked my path. He had the face of a thug and a fierce, impatient expression. He looked at me like I personally owed him $5 million. What do you think you're doing? Walking in without even a greeting. You really think you can just wander in here? Do you have any idea what kind of place this is? The guard was dressed like a slob, and he wasn't even wearing his uniform cap. Security guards and ushers represent the entire image of a building like this. If you let a man like this represent you, your reputation is in the gutter. At this rate, the building might as well close its doors for good. I looked him in the eye and said, I'm going to the Chun Group headquarters. You're going where? He sneered. Do you even have an appointment? I let out a dry, ironic laugh, never expecting I'd need an appointment for my own company. Even if I hadn't visited in a while, the employees should still recognize their boss. I kept my cool and simply said, no, I don't. The guard's face twisted into a mocking grin. Look at this cocky brat, he laughed. Who do you think you are, Chinimo? If you're Chinimo, then I'm his late father, Chin Hong. What's wrong? Aren't you going to call me daddy? My eyes turned cold, filled with a sudden, murderous rage. I can tolerate insults directed at me, but I will never let anyone disrespect my father. In that moment, I decided this man was finished. He was as good as dead to me. Just as I was about to call my bodyguards over, another guard came running toward us. He took one look at my face and turned pale. He immediately snapped into a deep, formal bow. With a trembling voice, he said, welcome back, young master. I'm so sorry, sir. We didn't know you were coming and we didn't have anyone prepared to receive you. The first guard, a man in his 40s, looked at me with total disbelief. That's your young master? Stop pulling my leg. The Chin family heir doesn't go anywhere without 7 or 8 bodyguards. He spoke with pure contempt, but I didn't give him a second of my attention. I looked at the guard who had bowed and asked him coldly, how do you recognize me? You came to the company a year ago, he replied. I was lucky enough to see you then. The rough-faced guard listened to the exchange, his expression shifting. The other man sounded serious. He clearly wasn't joking. It finally clicked. This really was Chunimo. He looked at me closely, finally sensing the innate nobility radiating from my posture. But even knowing I was Chunimo, the guard didn't seem particularly afraid. Instead, he approached me with a slimy, pathetic smile. Young master, young master, young master. Brother-in-law, I finally get to meet you in person. I'm Zhao Kai, Lu Rian's cousin. I'm the deputy head of security here. We're family, he whispered in my ear. He puffed out his beer belly and gave me a clumsy, disrespectful salute. He was a high school dropout and a thug. I had no idea how he'd crawled into my company. Zhao Kai reeked of stale, rancid sweat. It was as if he hadn't touched a drop of water in 15 days. His stench and foul breath were enough to make me gag. I shoved him aside immediately to catch a breath of fresh air. I turned to the other guard and barked, "Go call the entire security team here, now." He didn't know what I was planning, but he knew better than to ignore his boss. Watching this, Zhao Kai started to look a little nervous. 2 minutes later, a squad of security guards marched into the lobby. 15 men lined up in the center of the hall, led by the first guard. They formed 2 rows in front of me while I stared them down with a blank face. "Is this everyone?" I asked coldly. The first guard hesitated, unsure of how to answer my sudden question. He shot a cautious, fearful glance toward Zhao Kai. I didn't expect this thug to have such a stranglehold on the security team. The man didn't even dare to tell me the truth while Zhao Kai was watching. As the head of the Qin family, I was being treated as less important than a common hoodlum. "I'm asking you a question," I snapped with rising indignation. "Why are you looking at him? Does he own this company? Who signs your damn paycheck?" But deep down, I knew this was my own fault. I was the one who let Lu Ruyan's family treat my business like their personal playground. The guard was terrified, pointing at the others as if they were all headed for prison. I signaled for him to step forward and speak his mind. "Tell me the truth about this security team. Don't fear retaliation, because I'm cleaning house today." Hearing my words, a spark of hope finally lit up in the man's eyes. "Young master, my squad is made of army veterans, but the other 2 teams are different. They're all relatives and friends of the Lu family, thugs just like Zhao Kai. They wander around the company doing absolutely nothing and refuse to follow orders. Most of the time, they just sit in the guard room gambling and playing cards." As I listened, the rage boiling behind my eyes was ready to explode. I was paying these losers to play games while Zhao Kai's father took over as captain, and since that man took the title, he hadn't shown his face at the office once. My expression darkened, turning cold as ice. This was a Chun family company, yet our security was a complete joke. How could my employees or our trade secrets ever be safe with these clowns on watch? Finally, I let out a long, heavy breath. I patted the honest guard on the shoulder and told him, "Thank you for your hard work. This is all my fault. I was negligent and let the wrong people in. I had nearly destroyed the foundation my family built over generations for a woman." The old guard's eyes welled up with tears. He had served the Qin family for 20 years. With his skills, he could have left long ago, but he stayed and endured the humiliation for us. "I'm just glad you finally understand, young master. It's not too late. You still have time to make things right." I knew exactly what he meant, but then, a voice cut through the air. It was Shun Ruachu, walking toward us with her assistants and secretaries. She stopped behind me and asked, "Chinemo, why are you just standing here?" She looked like a radiant star, elegant, serene, and composed as she approached. But her eyes were sharp, filled with a mix of clarity and genuine concern. Today, she was dressed in a sharp, professional business suit. The black, custom-tailored fabric was sleek and perfectly fitted. It emphasized her tall, slender figure and commanding presence. Seeing her again like this, a lump formed in my throat and my nose began to sting. My eyes reddened instantly as the weight of my past mistakes hit me. "Did these guards do something to you? Are they bullying you?" she asked. She clearly thought the security team had disrespected me or caused a scene. She knew exactly what kind of scoundrels these men were. If I hadn't forbidden her from interfering before, she would have fired them all long ago. In her eyes, I had always been like a child who refused to grow up. "Sister, I was wrong," I whispered. "My foolishness caused you so much trouble." She looked at me, stunned, and then glanced over at Old Ma. Old Ma simply gave her a knowing nod, confirming that I had finally changed. Shinruachu gave me a look of pure affirmation. She didn't hesitate for a single second. "Chinemo, you are my closest family," she said softly. "Whatever choice you make, your sister will always support you." Hearing those words from her hit me like a physical wave. I was moved to the point of tears, but I knew her support wasn't just empty talk. In my past life, I only had to make one call for her to hand over the entire company without a fight. Did she really support my reckless choices that unconditionally? Even when I was beaten into a vegetative state, she was the one who cared for me with every ounce of her being. I swore in my heart, "Sister, I failed you and couldn't protect you before, but in this life, I won't forgive these parasites." I walked into the president's office, my blood boiling with fury. I began reviewing the internal documents she had compiled. I slammed my fist onto the desk in pure rage. It turned out that Shun Ruachu had been far from idle. She had been watching them the entire time. Even when she couldn't stop them, she tracked every move they made. Every single illegal act these people committed had been documented. Every penny stolen was meticulously recorded. She had gathered enough evidence to destroy them all. She had been waiting for the day I would finally wake up and see the truth. In my past life, I never even laid eyes on these files. But in this life, they were finally in my hands. As I read through the documents, I realized just how far these family members had gone. Take Lu Rian's uncle, for example. That man, Bo, was even more despicable than I imagined. He was the head of logistics for the entire company. Every single purchase the company made over the last year had to pass directly through his hands. He forced every supplier to give him gifts and kickbacks on every deal. I looked at my sister and thought, how could I have been so stupid? Just hit me. I was absolutely furious with myself. But when I saw what came next, I wanted to slap myself even harder. It was about a man named Invo. He had been targeting the female employees of the company. He frequently groped them and subjected them to constant sexual harassment. When Shinruochu found out about his behavior, she confronted Invo in private to make him stop. But Invo wasn't afraid of her at all. He didn't have a shred of respect for Shinruochu. He even treated her like some outsider. The man actually had the nerve to film her and threatened to call the police. I started thinking back to how she must have felt. Bo had even claimed that if Shinruochu was willing, he'd divorce his wife on the spot. He wanted to marry into our family to make the two bloodlines even closer. Shinruochu was absolutely livid back then. My sister had tried to tell me about all of this, but I only had eyes for Lu Ruyan and didn't take a single word seriously. Once Invo realized I didn't care, his behavior got even worse. He harassed Shinruochu constantly, and it would have escalated further if the Chun family elders hadn't stepped in to protect her. Invo really thought he could get away with anything. It's okay, brother, my sister said, seeing my expression. It's all in the past now. What matters is that you finally woke up. She was right. Realizing the truth was the first step. Shinruochu stood there quietly. She brushed her hair back, refusing to dwell on those miserable memories. She actually managed a small smile despite everything. So, she asked, are you really going to send these people to the police station? Of course, I replied, and I'm making sure they pay back every cent they stole. I'm not just stopping there. I'm making sure they rot in a cell. I'll make sure Invo regrets the day he was ever born. If that's your stance, then good, Shinruochu said. I'll handle the rest. She grabbed the evidence and prepared to head out. She was going straight to the police to file the report herself. Long after she left, the head of the legal department arrived. She was the powerhouse behind the company's legal affairs. Her name was Wang Jin. She was a serious woman, professional to a fault. She stood there, stiff and silent, before knocking. She tapped precisely on the door of my office. President, I am Wang Jin. You called for me? She asked in a mechanical voice. Her attitude toward me felt cold, almost different than usual. It was distant, bordering on contemptuous, though I didn't know why. I barely even knew this woman. She wore thick glasses and a sharp bob that hit just above her shoulders. Manager Wang, I need you to draft a share transfer agreement, I said. Wang Jin looked at me, visibly taken aback. I could see her thinking, didn't Shinruochu say this fool had finally woken up? Why is he still trying to give his shares away? Are you really in such a rush to be this pathetic? Are you so afraid of Lu Ruyan getting angry that you're adding to the dowry? Adding even more shares? This is truly a desperate move. Spending a fortune just to win a smile from a beauty. Wang Jin clearly thought I was about to transfer my equity to Lu Ruyan. She looked at me and asked a sharp question. President, exactly how much equity are you transferring to Lu Ruyan? She and Shinruochu are best friends, and she's always told her to just quit and leave the Chin family. She knows how hard Shinruochu works to protect my family business while I just throw it away. Wang Jin looked so angry I thought she might have a heart attack right there. I looked at her, completely perplexed. Transfer equity to Lu Ruyan? What are you talking about? Weren't you planning on giving it all to her? She snapped back. Of course not. I already broke off the engagement. Why would I give her a single share? Do you really take me for a fool? Why would I gift her billions when I'm not even the man in her bed? Wang Jin let out a visible sigh of relief when she heard me say that. Suddenly, I slapped my own forehead in realization. I had been reborn, but I completely forgot about the physical dowry I'd already sent. The real estate hadn't been signed over to the Lu family yet, but the cash, the antiques, and the priceless treasures, those had already been delivered to their front door. Wang Jin, wait a second. Go back and send a formal notice to the Lu family to return all the cash and gifts. She stared at me like she didn't even recognize me anymore. If you're not giving it to Lu Ruyan, then who exactly are you transferring these shares to? Wang Jin leaned in, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Have you finally set your sights on a daughter from a better family? You have to send it somewhere. If not, you might as well just give it to me. I let out a soft laugh and stepped closer to her. I leaned into Wang Jin's ear and whispered 3 specific words. She looked shocked, then frightened, and finally absolutely delighted. Understood. No problem at all. I'll go draft the documents right now. Wang Jin rushed back toward the legal department, completely losing her usual professional composure. What's the rush? Are you afraid I'll change my mind? I called out. She paused for a second. She really was terrified that I'd regret the decision. She wanted that transfer agreement signed and sealed as fast as humanly possible. Do you even realize how many shares you're about to transfer? She asked, turning back. Exactly how much are we talking about here? Was it 25%? Maybe 20%? 95% of the shares, I said firmly. Wang Jin stood there, completely dumbfounded by the sheer scale of the wealth. It was the same massive fortune I had once planned to hand over to Lu Ruyan. But that was only 8.21% of the total. Wang Jin was clearly terrified that I was just talking big. She hesitated until I gave her a firm, affirming look to show I was dead serious. She turned around with a face full of determination and a light spring in her step. I walked slowly through the hall since taking over the position of president. This office had been sitting empty for many years. Aside from those very first few months, nothing here had changed at all. The Eba building is the tallest skyscraper in the entire city. I stood at the very top, looking out over the world below. The pedestrians and cars on the road looked like tiny ants. In this moment, I finally understood why so many people chase fame and fortune. This feeling of being at the peak and looking down on the mountains is intoxicating. Every time I come here, I remember my father working in this very spot. I remember how he used to worry over every problem he encountered, and how he would light up with joy whenever a project succeeded. After my parents died, I poured all of my energy into someone else. I spent it all trying to please Lu Ruyan. The president's office rarely opens its doors to receive guests, but today, it was actually quite lively. Soon enough, the receptionist called me. It was Inai, and she was asking to see me. I have to admit, Inai actually has some real skill. She only needed a single night to work her magic. She diverted the public's attention toward a massive scandal in the entertainment industry. It completely drowned out the drama surrounding Lu Ruyan and Yi Fan. Aside from a few persistent netizens still gossiping, the heat had mostly died down. So, even though the Lu family stock took a sharp dive this morning, it wasn't nearly as catastrophic as I had imagined. But a problem like this needs to be buried for good. The internet has a long memory, and someone could dig this up at any time. Next time, there might not be enough celebrities to take the fall for them. That's why the Lu family sent Inai to negotiate a deal with me. They want me to release a love statement claiming I just misunderstood Lu Ruyan. They want me to tell the world we've reconciled and everything is back to normal. The plan was for Lu Ruyan to apologize in person, but she's been missing since last night. With no other choice, they sent Inai, thinking I'd still do her favors like I used to. The moment Inai arrived, she pulled up to the Eba building and froze. She saw her brothers and sisters right there on the sidewalk. Even her nephews and nieces were in the crowd. All of them, along with some childhood friends, were being shoved into police cars. The police were everywhere. They actually had to use several large transport vans to handle the scene. Dozens of people were being hauled away in handcuffs. Inai stood there, stunned, wondering what the hell was happening. She rushed forward with her bodyguards to stop the officers. Brother, third brother, what is going on? Why are they arresting you? Eba looked completely broken until he spotted her. When he saw Inai, his face changed instantly. It was like he was looking at a savior and cried out, "Sister, save me please. Go and talk to Chun Mo right now. Tell him to show some mercy." The others started screaming too. "Uncle, save us. Chun Mo has gone insane. He's turned on everyone. He let that adopted daughter call the cops on us. Tell him to let us go, or tell Ruyan not to marry him." Inai finally understood what was happening. It seemed I was still furious and was tearing her family apart. She shouted at the officers, "Wait, I'm going to find Chun Mo right now." But the police didn't care about her demands. They shoved her relatives into the vans and sped off, leaving her fuming. She didn't have time to worry about their safety. She had to get inside. She sprinted toward the building, but old man stopped her at the door. Only after I gave the word was she allowed to come upstairs alone. The moment she saw me, she tried to play the role of the stern father-in-law. "Chun Mo, this is wrong of you. These people are your elders and your family. Even if they made a mistake, tell me and I'll handle it. Don't involve the police." "Is that adopted girl, Senjuchu, the one whispering in your ear? Listen to me. Once you marry Ruyan, these people are your blood. Your future children will share their lineage. But that girl, she's different. She's just an outsider, an adopted stranger. She's from a different clan, a different race, and carries a different name. How can you favor her? If Ruyan finds out, she'll be livid. Call the police, let them go, and I'll arrange a dinner so you can apologize." I smiled coldly as I watched her perform, wondering how Inai could make the dead seem alive. She babbled on for ages before finally noticing my silence. I hadn't said a single word. "Chun Mo, why aren't you speaking? A small matter doesn't justify bringing out knives and guns." A small matter? Rage boiled inside me. This woman was truly a master at twisting the truth. It was exactly like my past life. She always knew how to pressure me. Back then, I was so afraid of Lu Ruyan getting angry that I gave Inai whatever she wanted. I used to agree to everything, and that's exactly how I ruined my own company. Your relatives conspired to embezzle public funds from my company, and you call that a small matter? Gathering in the office for lewd acts in front of everyone. Is that a minor issue too? They harassed my employees, groping them in broad daylight. The surveillance cameras caught every single disgusting second of it. And yet, she still had the nerve to call it a small matter. Finally, I slammed my hand onto the table. I stood up abruptly and glared at her with a ferocity she had never seen from me. But those crimes weren't the real reason for my fury. The ultimate sin was that she dared to target Senjuchu. In this life, Senjuchu is my everything. She is my life. I let out a harsh, commanding shout that left Inai trembling in fear. My outburst left her stunned, unable to find her words for a long time. In her eyes, I had always been the obedient, sensible, and devoted man. How could I possibly snap at her like this? "All of this, I didn't know a thing about it," she stammered. "You should have told me sooner, so I could have warned them myself." What a joke, as if Inai didn't know exactly where that stolen money went. Most of the funds embezzled by Ebo had been handed directly to her as a tribute. She was the one profiting the most without ever having to get her hands dirty. And yet, here she was, acting like she was hearing it for the first time. Even now, Inai was trying to shift the blame onto me. By saying that, she was basically accusing me of not explaining the company rules clearly. Was she serious? Are they 3-year-old children? Do they really not know what is right and what is wrong? Do they need a manual to know not to steal and harass? No, how could I blame you, she said, sensing my coldness. In fact, what they did was completely wrong. Look, can you just do me a favor and let them go? I promise they'll never do it again. I was done listening to her chatter. I was determined to ruin the Yi family's connections. Especially Yi Bo. I'm going to make sure he stays in prison for the rest of his life. I spoke with absolute finality. No, uncle, don't waste your breath. I'm not letting any of those people go. I called you up here because the Liu family needs to act, or I'm suing every last one of you. Inai wasn't a complete fool. He could hear the killing intent in my voice, and deep down, he was cursing Liu Ruyan to high heaven. Why did she have to go and raise a gigolo like Yi Fan? She ruined a perfect marriage, and now the Yi family was suffering for her mistakes. I looked at him coldly and continued. I know you don't have much status in the Liu family, uncle, but you're going to deliver a message for me. When exactly is the Liu family returning the bride price and all the jewelry and calligraphy I gave them? Inai froze. He thought I was just upset about Liu Ruyan and Yi Fan. He expected me to demand an explanation, even fantasizing that. If the Liu family handled the apology perfectly, my anger would fade and the engagement would stay on track. Chinemo, listen to your uncle, he pleaded. Liu Ruyan and Yi Fan are nothing. It's a misunderstanding. After we found her yesterday, we already scolded her for her behavior. She explained that she really just sees Yi Fan as a younger brother. Liu Ruyan only has a younger sister, and there are no other men in the family. That's why she took Yi Fan in as a younger brother. You two grew up together. She loves you so much. How could she ever do anything to hurt you? Inai shouldn't have brought them up because the moment he did, the memories flooded back. I remembered Liu Ruyan and Yi Fan hugging and kissing in my own wedding suite. I remembered how she betrayed me just to save that pathetic brat. Thinking of those things, the coldness in my heart turned into a sharp, divine rage. The fire I thought was dead began to burn once again. It scorched everything in its path. Shut up, I snapped. Do you take me for a blind man? I know exactly who she loves. Go ask her yourself what she's really hiding. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even be able to keep your place at the Liu family table. Inai had never been insulted like this in his entire life. It was a total slap in the face. He stood up and pointed a trembling finger at me. I didn't even blink. The man standing before me couldn't threaten me anymore. If you don't want me to have someone break those fingers, I suggest you put your hand down. Inai saw the steel in my eyes, lowered his hand, and sank back into his seat. Chinemo, I understand, he muttered. A man's dignity is everything, and yours is being trampled. It's natural to be angry when you haven't realized the truth yet. If you want to calm down, I'll call Liu Ruyan right now and hand her over to you. You can punish her however you like, and my family won't say a single word. I know you feel offended. How could he possibly understand how I felt? But then a thought hit me. Could he be feeling this too? Maybe Liu Ruyan's mother had cheated on Inai in the past as well. I shook my head and said, I think you still don't understand. The engagement is over. Who she loves or who she sleeps with has nothing to do with me anymore. But the Liu family must return everything that belongs to the Chen family, intact. Fine, I'm done talking. You can leave now. He had known me for years, but this was the first time I completely controlled the conversation. He had no leverage over me at all. He had actually come here to discuss the construction of a new building. But I was kicking him out before he could even mention the reason for his visit. Inai tried to push back, wanting to talk about the upcoming press conference. Right then, Wang Jin burst into the room holding the transfer agreement. He didn't even glance at Inai as he rushed past him. He ran straight to my side, his face glowing with excitement. President, he shouted, please, take a look and confirm this one more time. It was the agreement to transfer 25% of the Chun Group's shares. If everything looks good, please sign it right away, Wang Jin urged. Inai hadn't even spoken yet, but hearing that, his entire demeanor shifted. He couldn't sit still anymore and snatched the declaration right out of Wang Jin's hands. He began flipping through the share transfer documents with frantic eyes. What? You're giving 25% of the shares to Shun Junshu for free? No, absolutely not. I do not agree to this. Before I could even react, Inai finished his outburst by ripping the agreement to shreds. Wang Jin finally realized there was an outsider in the room and looked instantly regretful. He had accidentally blurted out company secrets in front of a rival. But the truth was, the whole situation felt like a fever dream to him. I had only given him 10 minutes to prepare everything for my friend. And yet, he had managed to get the stock transfer book ready. Wang Jin knew exactly who Inai was. He knew he was a bottom feeder. The man was Liu Ruyan's father, after all. He had already guessed the real reason for the old man's visit. Wang Jin knew everything that happened last night and had always despised Liu Ruyan. After her infidelity came to light, his disgust extended to her father as well. What do you care? Does this even concern you? Is it your place to disagree? Get out of here right now. Leave. Inai was absolutely fuming. Wang Jin looked pained. It had taken him a lot of effort to print that document. What if you regret this later? Inai stammered. 25% of the Chun Group shares is no small matter. Think again. If Rian finds out, it'll be impossible for you two to be together. Inai looked like he was genuinely worried about me. But I knew better. He was only thinking about himself. I suppressed my irritation and looked at the old man. I told Inai to leave first and ordered Wang Jin to print another copy. I needed a fresh version of that share transfer agreement immediately. Listen, old man, Lu Ruyan and I are finished. We could never be together, so why would I care what she thinks? Did you really expect me to worship her like a relic for the rest of my life? Chinemo, if you despise Ruyan, I have another daughter. What about Lu Rushua? She's been abroad for years, but she's grown into a beautiful young woman. Her face is just as stunning as her sister's, and she hasn't had a single boyfriend. She's completely pure. What if I promised her to you instead? I never imagined Inai would have the nerve to suggest such a thing. Back then, I only had eyes for Lu Ruyan, and Lu Rushua had already moved abroad. In my past life, when I married Lu Ruyan, Lu Rushua only returned once. She came for the wedding and then immediately flew back to Europe. That was the last time I ever saw her face, wasn't it? The last time I heard her voice, I was already lying there like a vegetable. Do I still remember that moment? I remember Lu Rushua leaning over me, sobbing uncontrollably. She sounded completely heartbroken, and that's when the truth finally hit me. I realized that Lu Rushua had been in love with me all along. She left the country because she couldn't stand watching me flaunt my love for her sister every day. When she heard I was paralyzed, she rushed back and got into a violent screaming match with Lu Ruyan. She even hit her, desperate to take me abroad for better medical treatment. But Lu Ruyan blocked her at every turn and gave her a final ultimatum. She was banned from ever seeing me again. Apparently, Lu Ruyan had her forcibly sent back overseas. And since that day, she had completely vanished from my life. If I still held any shred of affection for the Lu family, it was only because of Lu Rushua. I never expected Inai to treat his own daughter like a common piece of meat. He was standing there, appraising her value just to close a deal. The man was behaving like a total animal. It's really no surprise. Lu Ruyan turned out the way she did because she had a father like this. I thought, are you a pimp? What do you think your daughters are? Just assets to trade away. I looked him dead in the eye and told him to get out right now. Even with me cursing him out, Inai wouldn't let the idea go. Chenemo, think about it, he pleaded. This merger is good for both our families. I didn't say another word. I just picked up the phone and called my secretary. I ordered her to send the security guards up immediately to deal with this trash. A few moments later, Inai was being dragged out of my office by force. As soon as he was gone, Chin Juchu arrived, having heard about the scene. Little brother, why are you so angry? She asked softly. She told me that staying this stressed was bad for my health. I let out a long, helpless sigh. Sister, you saw it for yourself, I said. Inai is irritating and a genuinely bad person. I finally understood why Lu Ruyan couldn't tell right from wrong. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. Chin Juchu walked over and placed her hands on my shoulders. She began to massage the tension away with a gentle touch. I suddenly remembered that this was exactly what Mom used to do for Dad. Whenever Dad got angry, Mom would lean in close and give him a kiss to calm him down. A simple massage, and Mom's comfort would always calm Dad right down. But time has passed, and now it was our turn to be in that position. You're right, I said. Kicking him out was enough. I'm done with them. No more deals with the Lu family. If I don't see them, I won't get angry. I get it. Thanks, sister. By the way, how are the preparations for the company coming along? I asked her if she had already dealt with the people on the enemy's side. She had handled her part and told the legal department to follow up on the rest. The whole company knows those parasites were caught, and they're ready to celebrate. Hearing that, a wave of relief and emotion washed over me. I took my sister's hand and asked, Sister, are you okay? Did they hurt you? This is all my fault, I told her. I handled things so clumsily. I made the entire company suffer because I didn't act sooner. And you, they almost bullied you because of my hesitation. She just smiled and said, It's fine, as long as you're okay, I'd do anything for you. Chin Juchu's sweetness always gets to me. To the world, she's a fierce black rose, but with me, she's nothing but gentle. Sister, I'm planning to reward everyone who stood by me through this. I decided to distribute 25% of the headquarters profits to them, plus a 1-month bonus as compensation. What do you think? Chin Juchu didn't even have to think about it. She just nodded and said, Of course, you went out and purged the rot from this company. You gave everyone hope again. It couldn't be better, and I won't stand in your way. Hearing her praise felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I flashed a generous smile and said, Actually, there's one more thing you need to accept. Brother, I support you in everything regarding the company, she replied. Don't worry. I looked her in the eye and asked, Sister, do you promise? Keep your word. Chin Juchu nodded and said, Of course, I always keep my word. Especially the things I promised to you. I let out a smile, knowing my little plot had succeeded. A moment later, Wang Jin walked back and carrying the stock transfer agreement. She didn't say much, just smiled and winked at Chin Juchu like she knew a secret. I took the agreement and gave it a quick once-over. Then, I signed my name without a second thought. I slid the pen over to Chin Juchu. I covered the top of the page and told her to sign, even though she looked confused. But she trusts me with her life. She trusts her brother and her best friend implicitly. She knew we would never team up to hurt her, so she signed her name cleanly. Wang Jin let out a sigh of relief and shouted, Congrats, Yuchu, you're now the richest woman in the province. Chin Juchu just stood there, completely dazed. She quickly flipped the agreement open to see what she had signed. There it was, written clearly on the front page. A stock transfer agreement for 25% of the company's shares. As the operational manager of Citigroup, and the one actually running the Chun family business, she knew the truth. She knew exactly what 25% was worth. It was a fortune. Calling her the richest woman in the province was an understatement. In all of China, she was now easily among the top 3 wealthiest women. She looked at me, bewildered, and asked, "Chen Mo, what are you doing? Why give me this?" I just smiled and said, "Sister, you promised to support all my decisions. But giving me these shares, it's too much," she stammered. She thought it was a bad move for me personally. The Chen family controls 85% of the group's stock. 10% is on the open market, and the last 5% is held by minor shareholders. By giving her 25%, she instantly became the second largest shareholder. Who would dare look down on her now, or call her just an adopted daughter? With this stake, she was officially the most powerful woman in the city. My expression shifted, and I spoke to her with total gravity. "Sister, I'm giving you these shares on one condition." Wang Jin looked startled by my sudden change in tone. I wondered if she thought I was about to take it all back. Maybe she thought this was just a shell game to keep the money in the Qin family. Qin Juchu listened to her, but she didn't look upset. She actually looked relieved. Wang Jin's mocking laughter finally broke my poker face. I snapped at her. "What are you thinking? Am I really that kind of person?" "Then what's the catch?" she asked. "Are you refusing to give her a title? That's cold." Her bluntness caught me off guard and sent me into a coughing fit. Qin Juchu rushed over immediately to hand me a glass of water. I looked at her. She looked so anxious and worried for me. This silly girl had probably been waiting for a moment like this for a long time. Wang Jin's words had struck a chord deep inside Qin Juchu's heart. The truth was, she had always been intended as the family's child bride. My mother had even mentioned the idea to her years ago, but my father, Chen Hongben, wouldn't hear of it back then. He scolded my mother for having such an old-fashioned, traditional mindset. He called it feudal garbage and never bothered to ask how she felt. In reality, she was more than willing. She just didn't know how to say it. Later, my father and Lu Weiqin made their own arrangements instead, and that's how I ended up betrothed to Lu Ruyan since childhood. That decision since childhood had always infuriated my mother. I started coughing harder, making Qin Juchu's heart ache as she glared at Wang Jin. "What nonsense are you saying?" she snapped. "Don't say another word." Wang Jin clutched her chest, mocking her. "Oh, our black rose has turned into a red rose." I almost died right there trying to keep a straight face. "I better leave quickly," Wang Jin teased, "before I interrupt this romance." She turned on her heel, ready to walk out the door. I stopped her immediately. "Manager Wang, wait. I'm not done. I need you here." Qin Juchu and Wang Jin traded looks, realizing this was getting serious. I continued, "Besides this 25% stake, I have another announcement. I am appointing Qin Juchu as general manager, in charge of every company affair. She will have the final say on all business development and personnel decisions. She won't need to consult me or even report back to me anymore." "Are you really handing her total management power?" Wang Jin asked. I was essentially giving the entire operation to Qin Juchu. I was turning myself into a hands-off, idle chairman. Wang Jin gave me a look of pure approval for once. "It should have been this way long ago," she said. "Being just a deputy held her back. We've lost so many opportunities waiting for your approval on every little thing." Qin Juchu didn't expect me to clear every obstacle for her today. Her eyes filled with tears. Wang Jin knew that Qin Juchu's entire life was defined by her purpose here. She could tell we needed a private moment, so she quickly found an excuse to slip away. "You two keep talking. I'll go draft the appointment notice and publish it for the group. Just wait for my signal to sign it, Mr. Chairman. Once you sign, it's official." It turns out the person who understands a woman best isn't her husband, but her best friend. The second Wang Jin left the room, Qin Juchu threw herself into my arms. Tears were streaming down her face. I instinctively reached out and pulled her close. I wrapped my arms around her waist, and we held each other tightly. Neither of us could say a single word. In that moment, the silence spoke louder than anything I could have whispered. Time felt too short for a love this deep, and I had so much to tell her. But the words just wouldn't come out. She was overwhelmed with the joy of reclaiming what she thought was lost. Finally, Qin Juchu looked up at me and asked a question. "Chen Mo, you're giving me all these shares, aren't you afraid? What if I decide to marry someone else in the future?" I stroked her hair, gently twining the soft strands between my fingers. I looked into her eyes and spoke with total sincerity. "I'm not afraid. If I gave them to you, they're yours, even if they become your dowry for someone else." Qin Juchu looked a little annoyed at my answer. She reached out and gave the soft skin of my waist a sharp, playful pinch. "Fine then," she said flirtatiously. "I'll just find another man to marry. Don't you dare regret it." It stung so much I winced. "Ow, sister, I was wrong. I won't let them be your dowry." Qin Juchu didn't let go, putting even more strength into her hand. She pinched me again and again. If anyone saw the powerful chairman being bullied like this, they wouldn't believe it. By the time she stopped, both sides of my waist were red and swollen. With tears in my eyes, I whispered, "Sister, you will always be part of me. You belong to the Qin family, in this life and the next. We belong together." When Qin Juchu heard those words, that we needed each other, she collapsed against me and sobbed out loud. She had waited for this moment for so long that she had almost given up hope. Between her sobs, she managed to choke out, "Okay, we will always be together. We will never be apart again." I looked at her with absolute gravity. Sister, you have to keep your word. Don't lie to me. I can't survive another betrayal. I felt her entire body go rigid in my arms. She could feel the raw, soul-crushing agony behind my voice, a pain that cut through flesh and spirit. Shinjuchu was speechless, not knowing how to even begin to comfort a wound that deep. Lu Rian didn't even know how she had managed to fall asleep. She had no idea how many tears she had shed throughout the night. But the moment she reached for her phone to call me, it rang. It was Yifan calling her. On the other end, Yifan screamed through his sobs. Rian, come to the hospital. Someone is going to kill me. Before she could respond, the line went dead. What's wrong with Yifan? What happened to him? She panicked, staring at her phone in shock. By the time she snapped out of it, the call was already over. She grabbed her car keys immediately. Still wearing that white wedding dress, she ran out the door, leaving me behind once again. Just like that, when Lu Rian arrived at the hospital, she found Yifan completely unhurt, just kneeling on the floor and trembling. Sitting directly in front of him was the Lu family matriarch. Lu Rian rushed toward them, her heart racing with every step. She ignored her grandmother, focusing only on her distress for Yifan as she shouted urgently. Grandmother, what is going on here? What are you doing? Why are you making things so hard for Yifan? He was just in a car accident and his body hasn't even recovered yet. Grandmother Lu looked at her like she was a fool, wondering how her granddaughter could be so blinded by love when Yifan didn't have a single scratch on him. The old woman pointed at Yifan and asked Lu Rian to show her exactly where these grave injuries were. He barely had a single scratch on him. You actually abandoned your own wedding for this and made a mistake this massive. You turned the Lu and Chun families into enemies. I honestly want to kill both of you right now. Lu Rian stood there in disbelief at her grandmother's words. She stepped forward and took a long, hard look at Yifan. There were only faint marks on his face and hands, partially hidden under a thick layer of makeup. She had been too blinded by panic last night to notice, but in the daylight, the truth was obvious. There was no real wound at all. Lu Rian suddenly realized that the accident had been nothing more than a stage performance.